All right, I'm not even going to try to cover anything up because if I make a mistake, I'm going to admit it. I made a mistake. So, you guys probably just saved my life. And some of you are going to know exactly what I'm talking about just by looking at this part right here. What we're talking about is that 6-liter Power Stroke I just did the oil change on. I uploaded the video, went to a horse show, and got back and started looking through some comments. And usually, I expected to see like, wow, great job, cool garage and everything. No, but the top comments were about this oil filter cap that was used on the truck. And some people saying I should have known better. Other people saying better get that truck back quick before it blows. I never saw any low oil pressure on the truck. Now, granted, those oil pressures on the Fords, which is stupid in my opinion, they're not based off of, they don't give you live pressure readings like a GM would. You see the oil pressure gauge fluctuate on a GM vehicle. Ford doesn't do that. And it's once it gets below 7 psi, around 7 psi or less, that's when your low oil pressure warning goes off and the pressure gauge drops to 0. I never saw that on this truck after I started it or when it was driven back to where it is now, which fortunately is only a couple miles away. So I'm going over there now with this new cap here, and I'm going to take the old filter. I've got the old filter in this Motorcraft box here, and I'm going to compare the sizing and just see what the difference is for myself, because I still find it kind of strange that if this is indeed the wrong filter, why I still had oil pressure at idle. Maybe the oil had to warm up, I don't know. But at any rate, I'm going back there right now. Like I said, fortunately this truck is only, a couple miles away, and I'm going to put the right cap on there. It's dark out, it's night, but I've got my nice big bright light here. So again, I'm not here to cover anything up. I'm not here to say, oh, I used the right filter, I didn't make any mistakes. I'm a know-it-all who does everything right always the first time. This is a learning experience. I'm not a 6.0 expert. If you want 6.0 advice, go to Bill Hewitt. I'm sure all of you know who Power Stroke Help is. If you don't, you're missing out. Great videos. And I looked some of this stuff up online and saw for myself the serious problem that this could become. This is a major issue. I'm shocked that there isn't more talk about this out there. This is the very first time I've ever heard of this. But then again, this is the very first time that I've done an oil change on a 6-liter Power Stroke. It wasn't that I bought an aftermarket filter either. I bought the right, as one of my favorite comments in that video, if you go back and look at it, is right filter, wrong cap. So I've got the correct cap here. We're going to go back and get this issue taken care of. Like I said, I don't think there's, I think we caught it in time. Thanks to you guys in the comment. This is what I love about this community here, this YouTube channel that I've created and built up over time. I'm out to educate people and to teach people stuff, but I dare say that I learned just as much from you guys in the comments as the people do watching my videos. So thank you guys for these comments. You probably just saved my life here. So let's go get this taken care of. Now, lucky for me, the local auto parts store had both the correct cap and a new filter both in stock. I didn't want to reuse the old filter, even though it's brand new, just from today by doing the oil change, because if I compromise the structure of that new oil filter while trying to remove it from the cap, I don't want to take a risk of damaging it and then have the exact same problem of unfiltered engine oil just going through the engine. So I'm going to replace both the filter and the cap again. I'm out another $22 for the filter and about another $25 for the cap, but you know what? That's a $10,000 engine potentially. So $50 is pennies compared to something like that. So let's go get this done. So I'm just about to the place where the truck is here, and hey, good. They haven't even moved it from where it was dropped off last night, so that's perfect. It's basically don't move the truck, leave it right where it's at, don't start it, don't do anything to it till I get there. So here we are. I'm just gonna aim my headlights at the truck here, use that little light that I brought along as well, and get this cap put back on. And you know, these are the type of things that you will never forget. I've thought about putting together a video compiling the biggest mistakes I've made in my career as a technician, even though I'm not a technician at my full-time job anymore. I've thought about doing that, and this is definitely one of the things that would go on that list. I'll never ever forget this. And again, it's thanks to you guys that I found out about this when I did. We probably just saved this customer this engine here. Now, for those who might not fully understand what's going on here and how serious this is, let me explain. So you look at this cap here. This is the wrong cap. Now compare the size of this cap. There's much better videos on YouTube demonstrating this, but I'm doing the best I can right here. Compare this cap to this one here. Look at the difference in the threads. You see that change there? That means this filter in this cap isn't pushing down all the way. Now, even though it locked into the cap there, see that? It actually locked into the cap. And the good thing is the filter here is full of oil. So we know it at least had oil pumping through it, but there's no guarantee that it was sufficient pressure to keep this engine running healthy. Now what happens, this is where the problem is. There's what they call an anti-drain back valve down here. Now, it's this little black round piece right here that I'm pointing at right there. That little drain back valve, what that does, when you pull this oil filter out, it springs back up and it allows the oil to drain out of this housing and back into the engine. So what happens is, if you put the wrong size cap on, those aftermarket caps that come with a one-time usable filter where you're supposed to replace the cap and the filter, that filter doesn't go down far enough and doesn't push the drain back valve into the closed position. And then what happens is you get oil pumped up to the filter, but then it goes right back down into the drain back valve there. Not only is your oil not getting filtered, it's not even getting pumped through the engine. This is a serious issue, and why I can't thank you guys enough for pointing this out to me in the comments. So that's basically what's going on, why this issue was so serious. So let's put the filter into this correct cap here and take a look at the difference. So sure enough, what I was afraid might happen ended up happening. The top of the filter actually ended up staying stuck in the cap there. So this filter is no longer usable. That's why I'm glad I got the new one here. So we'll put a new filter on the new cap and be good to go. Here's a comparison of the aftermarket filter and the Motorcraft filter side by side. You can see the height difference. Take a look at these filters. Look at that height difference there. That's why this is such a big problem. That's more like it. Here is the Motorcraft filter in a factory cap, and the aftermarket filter in the aftermarket cap. Notice how they're the same height now. Notice how that's spring loaded now too. Wasn't like that with that aftermarket cap. So I've let the engine run a little bit, let it warm up. Sounds good, everything seems normal, no leaks. Everything seems to be all right. So what can we learn from this? Actually, what could I learn from this lesson here? Well, obviously I need to learn how to read, because if you take a look at this cap here, it's not in big letters or anything, but it does say on the top there, do not reuse. Why not reuse? Well, there might be a reason for that. They're telling you not to reuse this because that filter was actually glued to this. I still think it's deceptive though, that a Motorcraft filter will snap into this cap and thread down properly, and everything fits, no leaks, and it seems to work just fine. But had I opened my eyes and read do not reuse, I may have questioned why not reuse this and found out about why these are different sized. Secondly, I think a lesson we can learn here is just use Motorcraft parts. You know, had this aftermarket filter not have been used and a Motorcraft filter would have been put on this truck during the last oil change, this problem wouldn't have even happened in the first place. We would have never had this issue. And third, I think it goes back to what a lot of these Power Stroke diesel experts say. If you don't know what you're doing, don't touch it. Because, I mean, if something as simple as an oil change like this could go so horribly wrong, imagine what else can go wrong while you're working on these things. So I learned a very valuable lesson here with this truck, and again, thanks to you guys pointing it out. I find it funny that I ended that last video I made with, if you didn't like the video, let me know why, or tell me what I did wrong, I think is what it was. And I did something wrong. I did something that could have been a disaster. This could have been catastrophic. So we caught it in time, we're good. I'm just glad when I brought the truck back here, I never saw any low oil pressure warnings. The gauge was always up there in the normal pressure reading. So I ran the truck, warmed it up, drove it. It seemed to do fine, no abnormal noises. I even pulled the filter back out again and checked for metal. I couldn't find any metal in there. So I think we're all right. I think we're going to be okay here. And it's all thanks to you guys pointing this out in the comments there. So again, thank you. As always, if you like the video, give it a thumbs up, and a double thumbs up to you guys for saving my life here. Have a good night, everybody.